Good morning. It is August 6th, 10:40 a.m. Already out in the garden covered in dirt. You can see it all over my face already. Today we're going to talk about how to properly care for a Dracaena plant. First thing being proper pronunciation. I actually had to Google it myself. I wasn't sure.
Dracaena.
So this is the Google Dictionary pronunciation playing here.
Dracaena. Dracaena.
Got it? Tropical palm-like shrub or tree with ornamental foliage, popular as a greenhouse or indoor plant. Ours are going to live outside, but they're going to be in pots, so that way we can bring them in for the winter once the weather changes. We will do a video about exactly how to switch plants indoor and outdoor like that. You do have to prime them first. You can't just shove them into a new environment and expect them to thrive. So keep an eye out. Make sure you subscribe to our channel so you get notified when we do post that video, and we'll get into all the details you need to bring your plants indoor and outdoor and keep them happy and healthy in their new environment. So now diving into the details of this. Overwatering will cause root rot, and that's the main reason that these type of plants die. So you want to water your plant thoroughly, allow at least 75% of the soil to dry before watering again, and keep it in low light to allow the soil to really maintain its moisture level. The other common issues you're going to have with the Dracaena plant is browning or yellowing leaf tips. The brown tips are typically going to mean that you're underwatering your plant, which I have not had an issue with. I've definitely been overwatering them. I keep them just as moist as all of my other plants. I really didn't research how to take care of these when I got them. They were just on clearance, and I just stuck them out in the yard and forgot about them for a little bit. So now I'm doing the research to kind of bring them back to life and make sure that they survive the rest of the summer so we can bring them indoor for winter. Now, the yellowing of the tips of the leaves is going to be the opposite issue. That is going to mean that they are overwatered. Your plant doesn't want to have wet feet, which means that the roots are constantly staying wet. Again, it does need to dry out in between each watering. So that will definitely lead to root rot and eventual death of the plant if you don't go ahead and maintain proper moisture levels. That being said, you do want to go ahead and make sure that you remove every bit of browning or damaged leaf material that you see. You want to make sure that at least 50% of the leaf is damaged before you remove it, because it is giving the plant some nutrients, it's collecting light, it's providing photosynthesis. So it is still active if the plant or if the leaf is more than 50% active. If it's under 50%, you've got a lot of brown on there, it's really doing more damage than anything. So you want to go ahead and remove that so that the plant can focus all of its energy into promoting new life. Moving on to your light levels now, the Dracaena plant will grow in low light. They do prefer and thrive really in direct sunlight. So they are typically an indoor plant, which means they're going to have low light levels. You can actually control the size of your plant by adjusting the light level. If you want it to grow a little more slowly, you don't want it to get super huge, because it's indoors, the low light level will help with that. If you want it to thrive, if you want it to get as big as possible, as bushy as possible, you'll want to go ahead and move it into direct sunlight. It will start to injure the leaves, though, if you have too much direct light on it. I'd say probably a good 6 hours is plenty. If you notice that the leaves are getting brown or sunspots, just little brown spots all over, you probably have it getting too much light at that point. And just like any plant, you can control the size and shape of your plant by topping. you can actually remove 1/4 to 3/4 of each of these stems coming out, and that will allow it to keep living and keep its height down. It's going to basically grow as high as you top it. At that point, it's going to focus on bushing out and getting thicker and fuller. It's not going to focus anymore on getting taller. Now moving into fertilization, you can definitely fertilize these plants. You can fertilize any plants. If your nutrient level isn't great in your soil, you're definitely going to want to add something. Most soil does have embedded nutrients or little kind of spheres of fertilizer already in them. They're little time-released balls, and that will feed your plants over, they say, 6 months, but who knows exactly how long. So I always like to add a little something. I do it maybe once a week. We just use Miracle-Gro on all of our non-edible plants. We don't use that on anything edible. We have a different product for that. I'll go ahead and share that with you later. For now, we're going to talk about feeding the Dracaena plant. Here is the plant food we use. It's just these little blue granules. I actually usually get them separate from this kind of sprayer thing. Just thought this would be easier, but actually we end up most of the time just dumping some of these granules in a little watering can and doing it by hand. So I have these little attachments here. They're like rapid change out hose attachments. Quick release. If I can get it to screw in here. Hold on, in my other hand. So that just goes in like that. And then we can detach this one here. Set my phone down. Just pull that little part back. And then yank the end off. Helps to have the water turned off first. Actually, most of the time it doesn't usually detach unless the water is off and all the pressure is gone. So now that my water is turned off, I've got my quick release attachment screwed on nice and tight. Here's the other end. It's actually stuck down. Sometimes dirt gets in there and you just have to rotate it and it'll loosen back up and free itself. There we go. So let's set the phone back up again. Sorry for the side angle here. Just pull this back, shove that in, and push it back up. If it doesn't want to quite push back up, again, just rotate it until it does. There we go. So that's nice and attached. Again, my little dudes here are actually overwatered. We haven't been letting the soil dry out. We've been watering them every day, sometimes twice a day if it's hot out, along with the rest of the gardens. But I'm sure the top of the soil had not been totally dried out. I do keep everything pretty moist. And as we saw, I am getting some little brown tips occurring. So seemingly these are dry tips though. They don't seem to be overwatered. They're very crunchy. But again, we're just going to play it safe and go by the book here. Cut the watering down to maybe 3 times a week for now, since they are outside in direct sunlight and it's been super hot. See how that does, if that's letting the soil dry out enough. If it's not, we can cut back to 2 or even 1 time a week as suggested. But I think they're going to at least need 3 times a week with this heat, for sure. And now that they're in direct sunlight out here in this little island garden, they're going to really take off, but they're going to dry out quickly and use up a lot of that water fast. And again, pardon my voice. Had Puppy run off chasing cars a couple times this week like some kind of idiot, so I had to go screaming down the street after him. So Buddy has to stay on a chain from now on. since we learned his love for moving vehicles. He usually is really great about just freezing when you say no really loudly and firmly. But when he's chasing a vehicle down the road, he does not stop until it's well out of sight or until he catches it, which could very well be deadly. Fortunately, the two drivers that he chased saw him right away. Another thing I wanted to mention is that this plant is actually harmful, toxic to both cats and dogs if they eat it. So, I know Danjo, our other dog, does not get into the plants. But this little new guy, we gotta keep a close eye on. Look at that smile. We gotta keep a close eye on the baby because he doesn't know anything. They are pretty well off the ground. I'm gonna put them in pots or keep them in pots. So, it shouldn't be an issue, but we will keep him tied up away from them till we know for sure we can trust him to just not eat random plants out of the garden or chase vehicles down the road. Right, baby? It's his nap time, his puppy nap. So that is how to care for a Dracaena palm plant. So if you have any questions at all, feel free to ask me in the comment section. I'll be happy to answer. You can see I just have them sitting out in my little island garden. That's where we get actually the most sun. So you notice I did have a few sunspots forming. They've been here for a few weeks now. So I'm going to go ahead and transfer those into some nice pots today, hopefully, if the rain will allow it. And we'll get those in a safer place and a little less light, not in total shade, but I don't want them frying like they are. So I'm going to get them in a slightly shady spot that still gets plenty of light, a good 6 hours of light through the day, and they should be good to go. Please do subscribe to our channel to keep up with all the fun activities we have going on out here, building our tiny house project in the middle of the woods. We'll have lots of garden videos coming up. We'll have vintage bike restoration videos that Sean's working on. Of course, the tiny house build, we'll have plenty of tutorials and how we're living out here in the woods, our lifestyle and all of that, and puppy training videos as well, since we have our new little buddy here. And we'll see you guys soon.